What's good, guys? Welcome back. Bear down. The Bears suck. They do. We suck. Let's accept reality. Let's embrace it. Embrace the suck, and let's move forward from here because that's all we can do. I'm glad I took a week off. I am. I watched the game. I watched the pain. I watched with all of you guys. 3 points is absolutely unacceptable. Freaking unacceptable. There's no reason for 3 points. I don't care if we held them to 6. I don't care if it wasn't even necessarily the defense being better. And it's toxic right now. It's toxic in Bears world. So we're going to take a little different approach. And this is just as toxic. I'm going to warn you right now. So if you don't like the concept of this, just hang in to the end. Look at the end because this is going to be about planning forward for the Bears. I am not saying I'm in or out on Ryan Poles. I'm more out than in right now. If nothing else, he should have had a bigger stick to swing when it came to Matt Eberflus. He's made poor decisions when it comes to one-year players. He's made poor decisions in the draft. Like, he's hit some hits, but also some of those hits were given to him. So I'm not going to say I'm in on him. The fact is we have the 2 longest losing streaks in Bears' historic century-long history, and the man hasn't made it happen. You can excuse that first year, the rebuild. You can excuse that. This year, there's no excuse for it. There's no other reason for it except culture. He has not built a culture of leadership, of winning, of having the proper people in the right places to do the right things. So I'm more out than in, but to me, that doesn't even matter as long as he gets this next one right or whoever. And you hear the rumors that if Ben Johnson wants to come here, he wants a different GM, wants one that he can get along with. We don't know that. I mean, this is all rumors and speculation, and I understand that's what happens in Bears media. That's what happens in every team's media. But the reality is we don't know if that's truth. We don't know if Ben Johnson wants someone else, but I am all in on Ben Johnson. I'd love to see an offensive play caller. His interview against the Bears with this last game sold me. He's creative. Even when the game is out of hand, he's creative. He mixes things up. He can dial things up, and that's the biggest lacking, glaring weakness for the Bears. We do not have structure and stability. Our play calling is absolutely awful. You can have a great quarterback like Caleb Williams, and it's wasted. I mean, and even when the good plays happen, we've got poor positional coaches. How Chris Morgan SEMO is still on this roster. I mean, even got promoted last year. Man, we can vent on this for hours. So today, we're going to get away from a little bit of that. We're going to go back to the hall because a lot of people are going back and forth. And I'm going to start with this. Right off the bat, it doesn't matter what people are saying back and forth because it's done. Like, it's done. You guys know I advocated on here for keeping Justin Fields, and I even had a very creative concept. And I even went on the Windy City Breeze with Pat, the designer, and they kind of laughed at me when I said, Caleb Williams is a JV Justin Fields. I didn't mean it with disrespect, and I even clarified on his show. I should pull that clip out and actually show it. It was that he doesn't have NFL experience, and every rookie quarterback suffers from accuracy. I said that exact thing. And he can be a great talent and a bright arm, and we can put the roster around him, but there's going to be a year of adjustment. And I got overhyped. I got excited. I wanted to think we could make the playoffs, and once you make the playoffs, anything can happen, and you can make a run. The reality was this roster wasn't as well constructed as it needed to be. We listened to them say, this offensive line is the deepest offensive line we've had in years, and it's only $23 million. There's truth to that. This offensive line is better than any line we've had in the last 4 years. Anytime Justin Fields has been here, this is a better line than any of that, than Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, Larry Borum, all that junk. This is better than that. It's not saying much. That's like going from 28th to 23rd, 22nd, 21st. Our starters have played very well. I've pounded that one. I've shown it. It's real. When you've got Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, Matt Pryor, and Darnell Wright lined up, it's a formidable line. They can be an average to above average line, 10th to 15th-ish in the league. When you get past that, when you have someone go down, which they have all year, get injured, have to come out of the game, then you've got issues, and then we're bottom of the league, absolute bottom. So there were concepts behind trading back, getting the haul, improving this line, multiple spots. I mean, we mocked it, guys. Last year, a year from now, we were mocking Jackson Powers Johnson, Zach Frazier, Joe Alt, Mason McCormick, Zach Zinter. I mean, all these guys I did the draft research on. And just so you guys know, I'm going to take things a little slower now as we get to the end of the season. But I am working on the interior offensive line because it's our biggest need. video for the draft. I've done the defensive tackle, defensive end, because those are our two biggest needs. But then interior offensive line, we don't have anybody re-signed right now. Coleman Shelton is the end of his contract. Matt Pryor is the end of his contract. Tev Jenkins is the end of his contract. Sure, we can re-sign one or two of those guys, and I'm all in favor of re-signing Matt Pryor as a backup, because obviously he was meant to be a backup this year. But we'll get to that video. But we were doing this last year, and then we went and ragtag scrubbed things together. We traded for Ryan Bates, who was supposed to be retiring. we got Bill Murray, which ended up being a really good one, but you throw 4 darts at the dartboard, you maybe get 1 out of 4, and that's really the situation that happened. So concept of the haul was the big thing where we trade back from 1 and pick up multiple draft picks and future draft picks. And once we traded Justin Fields, then the concept of the haul changed. And I'm actually going to go through a little bit of that video here. But before we do that, I'm going to take you back to the Combine where they were talking about potentially trading down from 1st and 9th overall picks. Okay, so the question to Ryan Poles, Ryan, philosophically, how do you view the draft assets you have, picking 1st and 9th targeting star players if you capture those picks versus converting those picks into more picks, but they are lesser picks? And this is the thing we keep talking about with Ryan Poles, is the opportunity he's had at hand. Last year, 2 years ago, he did it by trading down from 1. It created some, we'll call it wealth, some more opportunities. And his answer, that goes into the equation. You have to look at what's there in that area. You have to listen to the trade, trading back 1, trading back 2, trading back 15. Like that changes the dynamic based on where the board is set up. We'll end up counting certain guys in certain spaces that we feel will be impact players in certain spaces. Being very open that draft picks are just opportunities, right? And I've always loved that quote. I really have loved that quote by Ryan Poles. They're just opportunities. We do these mock drafts, and you're not guaranteed to hit on a guy just because you draft him. Caleb Williams at 1-1 is no guarantee. Now, I love his potential, but I repeatedly said this is a year, and so is 2026, and so is 2020, where you have multiple quarterbacks that are going to be franchise quarterbacks. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. Now, I think Jaden Daniels is more of a Deshaun Watson. It's a concept for another video, another story. I don't think Jaden Daniels is him. I wouldn't be happy with Jaden Daniels as my franchise quarterback. I wouldn't after I've watched. You guys can debate. That's not the point of this video. Drake May, I like what I'm seeing there, and I do think he's going to be a franchise quarterback. I was not high on him. I was high on Bo Nix, and he's proving that he has it too, between the head. He's really got it. So there's multiple quarterbacks. 2026 has that as well. So the concept was these guys are opportunities. Continue to build the team around the quarterback. And I made the concept that we take Justin Fields, restructure his contract, don't sign a mega deal, but say, hey, do you want to stay the quarterback here? You haven't proven yourself yet. Instead of getting rid of you, let's take and sign a 3-year deal. $72 million, roughly $25 million a year. We're going to add to 2024. We're going to give you $5 million more, which is basically what we paid Caleb for this year. And then 2025 and 2026 are escalating years where you get 26 and then 35 that's not fully guaranteed. So the 35, we can cut him after 2025 with some of that guaranteed for him. So this is my concept in 2024. A couple people really latched onto that and it grew some legs, but obviously the Bears didn't feel the same way. Here's why. And it's the same reason why the haul just never was going to work. When you're sitting with a franchise quarterback decision and you've got 1-1, and some people are saying, well, we should have taken Jaden Daniels. We should have took Bo Nix. We should have took Michael Penix. We should have took Drake May. We could have traded back and still got the haul. I get the concept, guys, but when you're sitting 1-1 and you have to take a quarterback, you're going to take your guy. You're not going to trade down and then pick a quarterback. You're taking control out of your hands. So this was never going to happen as far as doing this and picking a quarterback. And they weren't going to restructure him and wait 3 more years. Ryan Poles was on borrowed time. He knew he had to make his move. So it was always going to be Caleb Williams. I don't hate that. Like a lot of people thought that I hated Caleb Williams. I don't hate it. I wanted the idea of the haul. So in this video, at the end, you're going to see I'm all in favor of continuing to trade down and build when you have so many needs on a team. All right, in the same videos, same concept. I took Curtis Samuel. Didn't even think we'd get Keenan Allen. I like Keenan Allen more than Curtis Samuel. But for the price tag, Curtis Samuel was probably better long-term. Keenan Allen gave us 1 year, but with that same structure, we could have had Keenan Allen last year and still drafted another quarterback, blah, 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 blah. Derrick Henry was my main guy. I think I'm the only one that had Derrick Henry as the main guy. Maurice Hurst hasn't panned out, but Xavier McKinney clearly has. I don't mind Kevin Byard, though. He's not a problem. But here was the concept from the main video I did. That was one of the biggest videos I've ever did, called Ryan Poles Could Be Generational. So back to this video. He could have been generational if, and I know this is an overhaul, so I'm going to show 2 of them. Trading down with the Commanders, then trading with Atlanta, then trading to the Chargers, and then trading from 9 down to 16 to get more picks. The haul was the concept, and this is what it would have given us. Let's forget about 2026. Would have given us 1-5, 116, 236, 240, 243, 375, 376, 4, 111. I mean, it would have been a massive. It was the haul. Keep Justin Fields, and this is what we could have ended up with. We could have ended Joe Alt, Brian Thomas Jr., Jerzon Newton, Tyler Nubin. I'm using a lot of the ones that I frequently mocked, as well as where they landed in the draft. So Brian Thomas Jr., Jerzon Newton, Tyler Nubin, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, who hasn't panned out that well. But I also did Zach Zinter here a lot. He hasn't panned out either. Third rounders are, a risk. And they still develop. It's only been 1 year. Cade Stover, Torrey Taylor. I didn't mock Torrey Taylor, but I put him in here because the Bears were set on doing that. And then Austin Booker. I did mock a lot, and I didn't see us getting him down that low, but here's what the Bears did. But then in the future, you'd still have your first rounder, Washington's first, Atlanta's first, our second, Carolina's second, and Seattle's second. We gave up our third as one of those trade back ups. And this is what that would have turned into as far as picks, where they stand right now. And here's what we could have gotten in this year's draft. It's just a hypothetical. But James Pierce, Walter Nolan, Wyatt Millam, Nick Emenwari, Princely Umanmielen, and Harold Fenn. I mean, you've got high leverage type of guys. So here's where our line would have looked like. Let me get this out of here. Oh, and then you got the 2026 draft class. Sorry, I was going to put that in there because then if things didn't work out with Justin Fields, you've built the team around, and then you got this amazing draft class coming out. I'm not going to focus on this one too much, but next year's draft class is huge for quarterback. But we've got our quarterback, so we move on from that. And this is what our offensive line could have looked like next year. You would have had Joe Alt and Zach Frazier with experience. Sign Trey Smith because we don't have any other needs. So go out and spend as much money. Spend $25 million a year on him. I mean, he would come for that. Darnell Wright, Wyatt Millam, Trey Smith, Zach Frazier, Braxton Jones is a backup for 1 more year. Seth McLaughlin is a rookie. Matt Pryor. I mean, you have an absolute haul there for your offensive line. It would be a top 10 line for sure. I didn't change the contracts on the side, so I got to cover me up over them. But then look at this defensive line. Montez Sweat with Princely Umanmielen and Austin Booker. On the other side, Josh Sweat, James Pierce. In the middle, Jerzon Newton, Walter Nolan, Jervon Dexter. And yes, Jerzon Dexter would be the backup to Walter Nolan. Andrew Billings, DeMarcus Walker. I mean, that's a stacked defensive line. But we move forward. It didn't happen. So then I said after... And this is reminiscing. We're going back. I said after we traded Justin Fields and committed to getting Caleb Williams, okay, you're not going to trade your quarterback. What happens if we trade back from 1-9? Well, we could have picked up, according to hypotheticals, the Raiders do regret not trading up for a quarterback. They wish they would have traded up for Michael Penix, well, they couldn't have got Penix because he went before us, but Michael Penix or Bo Nix or any of those scenarios, they wish they would have been able to do that. To do that, we could have got 113, 244, and 4, 112. I mean, think about that. We could have gotten Zach Frazier at 244. At 112, you could have got a very high leverage wide receiver. You could have gotten another guard. I mean, there's several guards that went in the 4th round that could have been. Dominic Pooney went right before this. So, I mean, there's many options we could have had here by trading back. And then also you could trade back again. This was crazy talk. I know could have gone from 113 and gotten both seconds and a third from Washington for them trying to overhaul their system as well. So he could have done a lot of things. But this is what I want to get to. And I've gone through multiple mock drafts, and I get your mock draft simulators aren't realistic. So I had to go through over and over and over again until I found a realistic scenario. And I found this one. We can still do a 2025 haul. With 1-9, you've still got a pick that's very favorable, especially for some of these teams that want to come up for a solid cornerback and a tackle. They will pay to come up. And this is a very fair value. Maybe instead of a 2026 second, it's a 3rd rounder. So, I mean, just take for the trade value how much that would be. But this is a realistic look at what it could look like if we traded back. 1-9, and the reason you do this, I got to stop and make sure I explain. The reason you do this is if Mason Graham is gone. If he's not gone, you take him. But then our biggest needs, there are several defensive linemen, defensive ends in the second round we can take. Not quite Mason Graham, maybe not James Pierce, but right up there. Princely Umanmielen, Landon Jackson, Jack Sawyer, great edges. Walter Nolan at the end of the first round. Even if you're dead set on saying we want the best guard in this class, we want Wyatt Millum, we want to take him and we want to run with it. You're going to get that at the very end of the first round. Okay, then you trade back. So 1-9 here will get you 119, 251, a little sweetener for this year, just a undrafted free agent ability, but you get to pick your guy, and he's locked into a 4-year contract. That's what a 7th rounder is to me. So you get a 7th rounder, but then you get a future 2nd and 5th. You're still building for the future while getting more picks this year. I think it's imperative for the Bears to focus on trading back and getting value. The 2nd through the 3rd round this year is the sweet spot for the Bears with how many needs they have in the interior of the offensive line. The defensive line has to be hit with that front-end talent. 1st round, beginning of 2nd round. Right now we have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. 1st round, 2 second rounds, and a 3rd round. If we can turn that into another 2nd rounder by trading down, and then we have 2 picks back-to-back at 40 and 41. Okay? Trading back again. This is how we accomplish the haul. If you can bid another 3rd rounder, great. But if it's something like this with Cincinnati, 41 to 45, and pick up a 4th rounder, you've then got to just outside the first 2 days, a 2nd to a 2nd and a 4th rounder. Then you've built more value. You got another 4th round pick. So I did this 3 times. I picked up 2 extra 4th rounders, another 2nd, and I'm just going to show you the quick mock draft. But I think this is imperative for Ryan Poles or whoever it is this year to entertain at least the concept of the trade down, because they never do. And this is what we do on here, and we eat up the concept of the haul, but it's not. I mean, he said it in his own quote. It's about taking opportunities, getting the guy that you really want versus trading down for more picks. They're just opportunities. And if you can trade back from 1-9, and instead of being forced to take James Pierce there at 1-9, taking 119, and let's say you get Walter Nolan, and at 251, you get Donovan Inziraku. I don't know, Boston College defensive end. You've then picked up your defensive tackle and defensive end. If it doesn't work perfectly, you can still hit free agency as well. You can still hit more picks. You've got a 2nd rounder next year out of this. So I like the idea of the haul. I know a lot of fans do too. I don't know why we don't entertain it more. It'll make me really little for this, but then I went through the scenario and I mocked it out, and here's how it would look. And this is exactly how it could fall. It really could. The Giants take Cam Ward. Patriots take Will Johnson, who's a phenomenal cornerback. Travis Hunter to Jaguars. McMillan to the Titans. Will Campbell to LSU. Shadur Sanders to the Raiders, James Pierce to Carolina, and Mason Graham to the Jets. And if it falls like that, our main guy right there, Mason Graham, went trade back. So this is a hypothetical. It's one of my favorite mock drafts so far. It really is. Walter Nolan at 19. Tyler Booker hitting your interior offensive line with your 2nd pick, then trading back slightly and still getting Princely Umanmielen or Landon Jackson, one of those guys right there. And then as you've traded back and got the extra pick, you get Nick Amenwari with our safety position needing to be revamped a little bit. Tate Ratledge at 75. Jared Wilson, you've hit 3 interior offensive line guys right here. You got Braxton for 1 more year, and you can still sign a free agent as a better swing tackle if we need one. Because I understand a lot of people aren't sold on Karan Amagaji, and I get it. He needs to develop. So if you need some safety net, sign another tackle. And I've shown several tackles that we can do that with. But you've got a center and 2 guards here that are really high end. The 2 from Georgia and then Tyler Booker from Alabama. Those are high end and with SEC experience. It's great. And then with our extra 4th rounder, picked up Jared Ivey, who's also played with Princely, who they played really well together, and they both generate a ton of pressure together off of. I would love him as a backup as well. And then you got Cam Scatterboot, Riley Mills as another defensive lineman with Walter Nolan, Jervon Dexter. I mean, that's a really solid potential. Like I said, these guys are potential. Then Pat Bryant, who I think is an undervalued wide receiver. Even when you listen to analysts, there's a good batch of wide receivers. Pat Bryant would be great. I don't think he lasts this long. Upton Stout, cornerback as well. And then Dominic Zvada, another kicker to be able to come in and compete. And then we got 2 future picks out of it as well. So I don't know. The idea of the haul, guys, it's just the Bears don't entertain it because we want to hit the blue chip guys. But when the blue chip guy doesn't fall right where you're looking to pick, it doesn't make sense to force it. To force the pick. I mean, Ian Cunningham had to hold back Ryan Poles from trading up to get Rome Odunze. And I'm all in favor of Rome Odunze. Those who haven't listened to me, Rome is absolutely going to be a star in this league. I believe he is A.J. Brown. I really do. His high point, his contested catch, his ability to run routes. The thing that's been a problem this year is not our players. You look at the separation rates for the Bears with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. DJ Moore is being like savagely misused. Savagely. It's the coaching. The coaching is the issue on the Bears. Clearly, it is the problem. Other teams like the Packers and the Niners and even the Chargers, who we just watched, like they have players that are playing better because of the coaches, because of the system, because of how they design it, organize it, and build into the culture. So the Bears have to get this right. Ben Johnson, to me, I think would do that. I don't know if Ryan Poles will be here, but this is how we still pull off the haul, in my opinion. But kind of a way of doing a mock draft, but explaining my concept of really still doing the haul. I think it's important for the Bears to do it. And if Ryan Poles gets another shot at this, which I don't know if he will, or if a new GM comes in, I think you need to build more value. You need to take those 3 picks right there and turn them into 1, 2, 3, 4 extra picks. It's 4 extra picks in the first 4 rounds. So I really like the idea of the haul. You guys still in on the haul? What do you guys think? More darts at the dartboard is my whole idea. Like, it's the whole concept that I love of getting more guys in there to compete. Iron sharpens iron. It makes everyone better when they do this. And I think it's the best way to go about it. I mean, unless you have someone like Mason Graham fall to you at 9, okay, don't do this one here, but then still trade back because you got 40 and 41 back-to-back. Trade back and get an extra pick out of that. Like, build us some value because there are so many picks, and I'm going to go through all these on my pre-draft rankings and everything. There's so many picks right there between 40 and 60 that the Bears can do. I mean, there's so many guys that fit our system and our values with interior offensive line, edge, defensive tackle, even a couple of safeties in there that we could use. There's so many good prospects. Trading back and getting the extra picks so we can pick up a Cam Scattaboo, so we can pick up a Luke Kandra, the guard from Cincinnati, who's not maybe the most polished prospect, but really solid footwork, really good hands, and I think could be a really, really good guard. Picking up an extra pick by trading back just a little bit and getting a Luke Kandra in the 4th or 5th rounds. That would be my ideal scenario. So not necessarily a normal mock draft that I do for you guys, but the concept of the haul I really think is what we need to do. And I think this whole notion of people hanging on to Justin Fields, it's got to go. Like, it really does. You got to let it go because he's gone. We've reminisced there. We had the idea. We had the concept. He's not coming back. Like, I don't know why you guys want to hang on other than just to say, I told you so. And, in a way, I kind of did that in this video. And I said, I told you so. But the reality is they were never going to do that because you got Ryan Poles fighting for his job, and you got the number 1 overall pick. And you can debate and you can fight over whether Drake May or Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix or Michael Penix should have been the quarterback. The reality is Caleb's got a big arm. He's got some things that he has to work through. Holding onto the ball too long, his scramble ability, seeing the field open downfield. But a lot of those things are going to come with coaching. His time to throw will come down. His reading the routes will sharpen up if he has a proper coach in place and he can have that coached into him. Like, he's got all the arm talent. He's got all the ability. He's got the mental fortitude. And when you listen to Ryan Poles in the Combine talk about being the quarterback in Chicago, he also talked about having the mental toughness to be the quarterback in Chicago, to have the ability to have a strong backbone as things are good and bad. This fan base is ruthless. It's relentless, and it is tough. And Caleb is showing that he has tough skin. He's got a thick skin, and he's got a backbone. So I think he'll be just fine. Anybody who's given up on him already, give him the same amount of time that you gave Justin Fields. It's only fair. And I've seen already the big playmaking ability. I mean, heck, he's the 5th or 6th leading passer for Bears history. I know it's not saying much. They had, the longest record for without an interception for a rookie quarterback ever in the NFL. I mean, there's so much good about Caleb Williams. So give it a shot. But the haul, I think, is still a concept we can do, and I hope that we do. So let me know what you guys think. Till next time, appreciate you guys tuning in. The Bears and Bear Down.